Let's go ahead and play this video, guys. Look at that jet. That is a beautiful private. That's Al Sharpton. Headed to what a joke. Wonder how many hungry, starving, poor people the cost of that private jet would feed. Wonder how many law enforcement families would be assisted financially with the cost of that private jet. What, Al Sharpton, American Airlines wasn't available for you, Reverend Al? You don't go with the little people, do you, Reverend Al? You fly private. And you brag about it. You brag about it on social media. You can't make this stuff up. You cannot make this crap up. Al Sharpton has always been a cartoon character, but you know what? It's like he's in on the gag. He's like, look at me. I'm going to brag about walking to my private jet to go comfort the Floyd family. My Lord. Headed to Minneapolis to stand with the Floyd family as closing arguments are set to be made today. My Lord. And there's Maxine Waters. People need to be more confrontational if we don't get the verdict we want. All right, let me get a lot of calls in here. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Let's start with Cindy. Hey, Cindy, can you believe the ride we're on together right now? Isn't this crazy?
Well, wouldn't that rise to the level of jury tampering through threats and intimidation? Because if I was on that jury, I'd be scared if I gave a verdict the mob didn't want.
Of course you would. You're hearing from a major Democrat that you better deliver the verdict. And you know something, Cindy? This jury wasn't sequestered until last night. They've been able to go home. They're not even isolated from the population. Did you know that?
No, I did not. And I would live in fear if I was on that jury and I went home, because they always get the names, they always get your address. I would live in fear with my family, too. If
I know. Apparently, the only time your identity is protected is if you shoot a Trump supporter on January 6th. That guy's identity's been protected. And incidentally, maybe that was a justifiable shooting. I just know that nowhere in America does a police officer's identity get protected except on Capitol Hill, except in Washington, D.C., where, as I understand it, Congress has a special carve-out protecting the identity of a Capitol police officer like the one who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt. And with this shocking news yesterday, maybe not so shocking from where you come from your perspective, that Brian Sicknick, the Capitol officer whose body lie in honor because the narrative was that he was beaten to death by Trump supporters, and he wasn't beaten at all by Trump supporters. He didn't die of any injuries from the January 6th riots. He didn't die from an adverse reaction to bear spray. The poor guy had a stroke, had 2 strokes actually, and died, according to the medical examiner, of natural causes. And they just made that announcement yesterday. And you wonder how I could come back to work today on a day like this. 1-800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Here's Bill in the ReliefFactor.com studios. Hey, Bill, thanks so much for your patience. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad you're back and feeling better.
Thank you, sir.
Al Sharpton probably thinks that's Air Force 3, first of all. But my question is, just exactly who is Maxine Waters telling these protesters to be confrontational with? The police or innocent citizens or business owners?
That's literally who she wants them to be confrontational against. That's what we've been witnessing in this country, right? So she wants innocent store owners. You realize, Bill, some of these businesses in Minnesota have just now been able to reopen after the riots of the summer of last year. They're just now getting back. And there's Maxine Waters telling rioters to be more confrontational?
Sounds like incitement to me.
Yeah, sounds like incitement to me, too. I just got a text message on the MyPillow text line from a listener who said that Maxine Waters is just out of her mind. But you see, it's not a Maxine Waters problem. It's a Democrat Party problem. It's a President Biden problem. Is Joe Biden going to condemn Maxine Waters' incitement? We know that Nancy Pelosi isn't. What about the Biden administration? What about Democrat members of Congress? I know how some of them are reacting. Here's cut number 5. This is Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's response to Maxine Waters' dangerous recklessness.
Maxine Waters believes there's value in violence. This is the first time she's done something like this. Remember what she said in the past administration, for people to get in their faces, to challenge everyone. And now what she has said has even put doubt into a jury. You had a judge announce that it was wrong. I think this takes action, especially when she has a pattern of this behavior. To have censure simply takes the majority of the House. But what could happen if this was to pass, because of the Democrats' rules, she would lose her chairmanship of the financial services. So maybe then she would learn once and for all, there is no value in violence.
You know, we hear a lot of people on the left who complain that there's not any accountability for Donald Trump. There's no accountability for the millions of racists and bigots who voted for Donald Trump. There's no accountability anymore for Republicans. What accountability is Maxine Waters going to have? She was scolded by the judge who's presiding over the Derek Chauvin case. She was literally lectured. Here's cut number 8. It's worth listening to Judge Peter Cahill one more time.
I'm aware of the media reports. I'm aware that Congresswoman Waters was talking specifically about this trial and about the unacceptability of anything less than a murder conviction, and talk about being confrontational, but you can submit the press articles about that. This goes back to what I've been saying from the beginning. I wish elected officials would stop talking about this case, especially in a manner that is disrespectful to the rule of law and to the judicial branch and our function. I think if they want to give their opinions, they should do so in a respectful and in a manner that is consistent with their oath to the Constitution, to respect a co-equal branch of government. Their failure to do so, I think, is abhorrent, but I don't think it has prejudiced us with additional material that would prejudice this jury. They have been told not to watch the news. I trust they are following those instructions, and that there is not in any way a prejudice to the defendant beyond the articles that we're talking specifically about the facts of this case. A congresswoman's opinion really doesn't matter a whole lot.
And the judge is saying that out of anger, and you know it. He's so angry, you could hear the frustration, the rage in his voice. Can you imagine being a judge trying to preside over this difficult trial? And who knows what the verdict is going to be. I don't even dare speculate. Frankly, I think the responsible thing is to refrain from speculating about whether this should be guilty, whether it's murder, whether it's manslaughter. There are men and women on a jury that are right now grappling with that decision. And if you think they're doing this in a vacuum, if you think they're unaware of the pressure they're facing, led by a racial arsonist like Maxine Waters, you're kidding yourself. But it's not a Maxine Waters problem. It's way bigger than that. Way bigger than that. You got a whole bunch of irresponsible, bad faith actors